Welcome to Do You AGRAY, a space where we have real conversations. This is Bassam, and I have with me Kevin, Jermy, and we're privileged to have Pastor Jeremy Arnold with us today. We've met through Kevin,
Yes.
and we're happy to have you here. Kevin is going to start us off.
Yeah, it's awesome to have Pastor Jeremy here today. I've gotten to know him a little bit. And he is from Belize. He is a pastor. He studied at NCU, did some powerful ministry in Jamaica, and currently he is at Princeton. And so we're so happy
Why did you say
to have you here today.
Princeton?
It's a big deal. It's
It is.
so glad to have you
Well,
with us.
thank you guys for having me. It's a joy.
Yeah, so Pastor Jeremy, just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and you can just jump into how you came into this world.
Okay, interesting. Thank you guys for having me.
thank you.
It is a joy and a privilege to be here. I'm originally from Belize.
Is that the flag you have?
Yeah, that's a flag. I represent well, For those who don't know, Belize is situated between Mexico to the north and Guatemala to the south.
Okay.
But we speak English.
Nice.
Interesting blend. I grew up there. I migrated to Jamaica where I studied, worked, and lived prior to starting school here in the U.S. I have an interesting entrance into the world. My mom have 13 children.
Wow.
My dad have 26.
26.
26.
Wow.
What number are you?
So for him, I'm not sure where I'm at for him.
That's a lot to keep track of.
But for my mom, I'm the 10th child.
Okay.
I'm the 10th child for my
Very
mom.
nice.
And I'm the last boy.
Huh?
So however, mommy was a frequent visitor, as you can imagine, at the hospital.
Mm.
The doctors knew her well.
We are a little bit, but not as much.
Four.
That's
The doctors knew her well. She was faithful to her appointments. It so happened that this time it was different.
Mm.
There was a situation that caused her to be rushed to the hospital. Only being 5.5 months pregnant.
No.
And upon examining her, it was important that they deliver this undeveloped fetus for the preservation of her life.
Her life.
Yes.
Oh.
So what happened, it's kind of interesting because it was my father's playboy lifestyle that caused my early entrance into the world. And so they delivered the fetus and they discharged her and informed her when she asked for her baby that this will be the first time she's going to leave the hospital without her baby. And so she asked, so where's my baby? And the doctor said to her, you had an undeveloped fetus that did not survive.
Wow.
And so she said to them, but where is it? Where is the baby? And the doctor said, ma'am, just go home to your 9 other kids. As I said, they knew her very well. And upon leaving, she saw where the doctor would have placed this object, this small thing, still in the fetal position.
Yeah, it's very small at 5.5 months. That's not that
Very,
big.
very
Yeah.
small. Still in the fetal position, she realized that her baby was still breathing. So she picked up her baby in the same rag and she went home. It's funny because my Jamaican neighbor, maybe I was destined to go to Jamaica because my neighbor was a Jamaican lady who mommy took me to when she got home. And the Jamaican lady said to me, she said, when your mother brought you to me, I vomited because it was just not human. It was the most ugliest thing
Wow.
that I've ever seen. Praise God for puberty, right? And so the what I'm sharing is not just a story given to me by my mom, but it's the reality of my entire community. It was a big thing. It was a big deal. And the hospital, probably upon doing their checks, realized that the baby or this thing was gone. And mommy, was visited by social workers and police officers, telling her to return back hospital's property. And I guess they were just trying to cover themselves, if this should get in the public air, then they enter the court of public opinion and they can die. It could be an ugly thing, even though at that time social media was not what it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody in my family even had a phone or a camera, because we lived on the poorest side of Belize City, in an area called the South Side. That's where all the crime and most of the crimes and violence happen. You don't survive the South Side without scars.
Wow.
So we had to learn to fight very early, because even though my father had so many children, he was never a father to us. So I have no living memory of my father in my life as a child. Well, I have memories, but they're not good memories. But we're gonna get to those. So so mommy brought me home, and she had to take me back to the hospital though, because something was wrong with the baby. She met the same doctor, the same staff, and the fetus blood now was poisoned, according to the findings.
The fetus what?
The blood of the fetus was poisoned, because of all the complications, I guess. I don't know. And
Sepsis.
because it wasn't properly developed. And then so a blood transfusion was needed. And mommy pleaded and begged, and to appease this crazy woman, because she must be crazy. It's not your only child. It's not the first child.
That's your child.
And we were living below poverty. Our house had no electricity, had no running water. We live in a 2-story wooden house that was so old that it became a landmark. People used to call it the sexy house, the way it was twisted. And so when you're lost, that's the landmark. Just come by the sexy house. That was the landmark. And so, and growing up, I still remember vividly where people would pass and make comments about the house and say, I can't wait to pass here one day and see this house falling with all you cockroaches on the inside. That's how we were viewed, the lowest of the low, just poverty on steroids. So there was no reason for her to want to complicate what is already complicated by taking a premature baby home. Only reason is a mother's love. Only reason is a God being in one's life to encourage somebody to even think to do something like
So
that.
your mother was a believer?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. She's a superwoman. That's my role model when it comes on to strength, and when it comes on to believing and fighting, believing that tomorrow will be better and fighting against them. Yeah, that's what she exemplified. And so, when they called, my sister said, when they called the blood bank, they informed them that there was no blood on hand. And so while the doctor was communicating that to them, the phone rang and said, "Hey, we found a blood."
Wow.
But it's a blood, it's dangerous because it's a blood that is not yet screened. So we don't know what is wrong with this blood. And mommy said in that moment, it is already screened by heaven. Give it to the baby. And at this time, mommy usually would emphasize that at this time, at this juncture of my existence, they couldn't tell. I don't know if it was posture whatsoever. Maybe they should have taken pictures. If somebody should have done a drawing to validate mommy's point. They didn't know if I was a male or female. So the doctor addressed me as it. But I just want to confirm to everybody here that I am a male, just in case. It's
Well, I think the whole thing, it was they didn't see any value in
right.
as a fetus.
Right. That's right.
And,
That's right.
And I think sometimes as a working in the medical field, the hospital setting, it's almost like you lose that compassion. You see so much death and suffering. And so to them, it's about numbers. And it's just survival. And so they probably didn't care.
And then interestingly, at that time, technology was not what it is today. And being in a third world country, you usually get the rejects of the other first world countries. And then I would imagine that what were the chances of a 5.5 month fetus living versus somebody who was probably there who needed that care and attention? So maybe they just made a judgment call to the best of their knowledge. But despite all of that, God is still God. God is still in control. So they did the blood transfusion, and my sister said they finished midnight. And the doctor said to them, "You guys can go home because by 1 o'clock, fetus is dead." When they went to check, the fetus was still alive. And so the doctor realized that something is going on here. And so they were talking about making arrangements to have the fetus shipped out to see how long on medication a 5.5 month fetus can really live. But their biggest problem was mommy. Mommy would not have that. She's taking her baby home, and she did not give birth to a guinea pig for them to practice on. Her baby needs to go home. And so because of the nature of what was happening there, and because of what she did previously, they called the police station, who sent a police officer to stand guard at the door so that this crazy woman don't steal this baby a second time.
Wow.
And perspective for me is golden, because when I would hear my story, let me tell you this, it was a story that I would have never shared with the world. I was ashamed of that story, but I have learned to appreciate it because my very purpose is enveloped within this story. And I believe that others can glean some message of hope from it as well. And so I usually say to folk, I knew I was special a long time because it took police officers to guard me when I was in the hospital. Perspective is vitally important. But mommy went to the children ward. She was already on the children ward. She went to the door next door. She went to the room next door, caused a commotion. The police officer was distracted. Mommy walked right past him, picked up her baby, and went home. Waiting for her at home was the police officers, and all of the whole thing continued. And they said to her, the last time they visited, they said to her, "Look, if this fetus dies under your care, you're going to jail for murder." And mommy said, "Then I will enjoy my time in prison, because I prefer that my baby die under my love than under your neglect." And it's funny that I am now living in a world where we're challenged by, or we're having conversation about, abortion and all of that. And my reality was a mother who would not permit death without love from her to just steal me away. That is profound, So I hope that
it's powerful.
get us somewhere in this story. However, though, a year later, it was a Jamaican lady who told mommy how to feed me. And, Jamaicans they know all the concoctions, everything, how to. And she said to mommy, and this is a testimony, she said, I told your mom to boil green banana in the skin, let it cool, and feed you with the water. And she did that, and I began to, stretch a bit.
Wow.
And then she had to take me back to the same hospital a year later.
Wow.
Where she met the same doctor. And it's amazing that you sometimes we struggle in life because life would be better if there were some people not in it. If we're to be honest, life can be a better thing, a more beautiful thing, if some difficult people would just not be in our lives.
Yeah.
But and notice this, every time mommy would go back to the hospital, the doctor is the same. The plight of the poor, or just God in his providence. Psalm 23, preparing for their table in the presence of your enemy. The doctor said to mommy, this was his declaration, that don't get too attached to it. At the age of 2, you'll be completely blind.
Right.
At the age of 3, he will be a complete retard. At the age of 4, he will be crippled because he wasn't properly developed. And at the age of 5, he will die.
Oh my gosh.
At the age of 6, I went into primary school, not with a cane because I wasn't blind. I wasn't wielding because I wasn't crippled. It wasn't a quote-unquote special school. I know the word retard is not a word that we are to use, but that was the word that he used to mommy. And so you will always have people who will put pronouncements on your life. And it is not what people say. It is the purpose God have for your life that will hold sway at the end of the day, should you trust it.
Wow.
And so my life was growing up, I was always a sickly child. Heaven knows how I survived to this ripe age of 33. The age of Jesus, I just wanted to tell somebody that. And so it is vitally important to understand that it doesn't even matter how you enter into this world. What matters is the lessons you garnered and the impact and the legacy you leave when you should say goodbye, world.
Wow.
That is what I believe value is.
So let me ask you, that's powerful. Let me ask you a question. I guess 2 questions in one. So growing up with, your journey and your story and health challenges and how others viewed you, when did you come to faith, in Jesus? How did you navigate your upbringing and all of that? And secondly, when did you discover your purpose?
The last part is the question the whole world. Everybody wants to know their purpose.
Yeah.
Walking in their career, still asking the question.
We are.
What is my purpose?
Yeah.
So I was born and bred in the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. So mommy is a staunch believer in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and she was raised Seventh-day Adventist, and so she raised us in the same manner. And so so I had a problem with mommy's God though.
Did you?
Oh my God, I had a problem with mommy's God because mommy's God is the God who don't care about the sick and the suffering. Mommy's God is the God who she teach us about, that, Jesus was poor and, he walked the dusty streets of Palestine. Like, yes, he walked it. I don't think I have to walk. I don't think I have to be that exact disciple. Like I don't need to ask somebody to untie a donkey for me to ride into Jerusalem either. You know, so I had always had that challenge with mommy's God. And this is why it is vitally important to know God for yourself. And what I want to share here before I forget is that life comes at us with difficulties, not to kill us, but to expose us to God, so that we could form our own relationship with Him.
Wow.
So that it is not your God that I'm following, but my God, this God that is now personal to me, because it could be just as how God have many names based on people's encounter with Him and their experiences. It could be that God has, it is that God has a specific meeting with me to develop a relationship with me. And until I allow that to materialize, I will always cling to somebody else's God, and then in that process lose my purpose. And so we and this is the truthful part of the testimony that is hard to swallow, but nonetheless it is the truth. We grew up in the church, but we were not always liked by the church folk.
How so?
Because people don't like poor people. Because you're always begging, or you always look desperate. And parents wouldn't permit their kids to play with us, Sister Jermy, because I don't know, I surmise that it was because they were afraid that our poorness would rub off.
Yeah.
You know, and so church wasn't a warm place to go.
Yeah.
And now I was 12 years old. My main show,
That's very sad.
my main show that we were in church every Sabbath, but it was not a nice place to be.
And your mom still took you.
Yes, because she draw the illustration of the ark, that even though there were animals on the ark, it was still the safest place to be. And so it was messy, it was noisy, but it was better than the outside.
Wow.
You know, so that was what, and I have no regret for that.
Yeah.
That's a lesson. That's a life lesson, not only a religious or spiritual lesson. It's a life lesson that even in the part of career, it will not always be a bed of roses, you know, but it is better to have a job than to not have a job, you know, kind of a principle.
I very much relate in the sense that I wasn't we were on the poorer side, but you know, we were more well-to-do, but we were always grew up lucky. Everybody, I think the schools we went to also taught us to just be like everybody else, but there were definitely individuals that literally told their children, do not play with that kid.
Wow.
And the kid doesn't have these.
You don't understand.
They don't see.
They don't see that way. They don't have that prejudice. But you know, it's instilled.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things are instilled. In the child's mind, and that you know, they grow up and they're like that. But I can definitely relate. And here's the thing. I grew up in Iraq, and so in Baghdad there was only one Adventist church.
Oh wow.
You have to make
Whether you like it or not.
and so
You gotta cross.
probably similar in the sense that you don't have a lot of options like we have here. Like, you know, I didn't like what somebody told me. I'm gonna go see something else. No, it's just this one.
And
You have like five around your.
And, you know, or you leave the church. You know,
Right,
So,
right.
you know,
Which happened inevitably. It was an ugly scene that happened. So
How old were you?
when I left the church, I was 12.
Okay.
What did you?
Time I
Where did
became
you?
a DJ.
Yeah, why?
So let me backtrack just a little bit. We lived in this two-story wooden structure house that was old. It was a landmark. It was the reject, but the house was rat infested, rat and roach. It was infested, and I'm not telling you about 5-6 rats. I'm telling you about some 20, 30 odd rats. And they keep on breeding, and they were big, and these rats used to eat us.
The rat.
Yeah,
She may
rats.
eat you.
Yeah, when you're sleeping, they would bite.
my
They would
God.
chew on your hands and feet, your face. You don't know until you wake up next day and you turn and you see blood, and you're like, "What? What happened?" When you stand up, then you can't stand because your foot bottom was by rats. And I'm not telling you a one-off thing. I'm telling you a reality you know, every single day.
Crazy.
That some
Wow.
that some people thought that we were under the curse of Yah. It had to be that you're under the curse of God. That is your reality. And then I remembered some years ago I was at Atlanta airport, and I saw a lady who used to be our neighbors, and I went up to her and I said hi, and
In Belize.
yes,
Your neighbor?
no, yeah, she was a neighbor from Belize, but we were now in Atlanta
Yeah.
airport, and she looked at me. She didn't recognize me, and I just walked away. And she just staring at me, and I'm just laughing, and I'm just laughing. And she came over and she said, "Young man, you need not do that to an old woman. You need to tell me who you are. You're making me very nervous and afraid." Then I called her by her name, and I said, "It is me, it is Jermy." And she froze.
She couldn't believe it.
She couldn't believe
Wow.
that you survived. My God, you survived.
That's amazing.
You survived, you know. Because the reality was we were never supposed to survive. So it wouldn't be a shock to nobody. Oh, that family died. Oh, whatever, next. So the shocker came. They survived,
Wow.
you know. And so when Sabbath at church, the church was good to us when it wanted to be. And so they did fundraisers, they bought us clothes, and that I was happy because I had one pants. It was black once. Mommy washed it so much that it changed the color. And I started to grow, so the pants did not grow with me. So Mommy released the seam at the foot of the pants. And so, but we had no iron to, you know, iron it and press it out. So that curve was always, it is always just, right there. So when we,
Lipstick.
yeah, that's right.
I remember patches. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And so that was the reality. And so when they bought us clothes, I was happy not to go to church because, you know, you're 12, you're approaching the teenage years. And so you're very self-conscious of everything. And then one church sister said to Mommy, you know, I realize that you're wearing the skirt that I put in the bag. I just pray that you don't wear it more than I did. You know, and that was the last Sabbath we were at church as a family. And because Mommy left church, I believe her greatest mistake ever was not even having so much kids in a poverty-stricken environment, but when she left church. Because from that day, we have never congregated as a family again at church. As a matter of fact, I have siblings who have become atheists because of that encounter.
Because of the way the church
The
treats.
way the church treats.
You can only take so much.
Yeah, that's right. You can only take so much. Yeah, you can only take so much. And so I was happy because I don't have to go back to that dreaded place. and homeboy became a DJ. and the shocker came when I in the clubs and bars playing 12, 13 years old.
Oh, you started young.
Oh yes, I was on a mission, and so I stopped school as well because it was an Adventist school and everything, and who needs education? And so I became a DJ, and the shocker came that there were people in the clubs and bars who wanted to be around me, wanted to be my friend.
Wow.
I never
That's crazy.
outside of my home. I never felt that, and so that had a drawing power.
So you
This
found the club. Wow.
Something is wrong when the clubs and bars are more warm
Accept
and
and loving.
loving than teaching.
That's crazy.
Something is very wrong.
Something is wrong.
But they're real.
Yeah. They're genuine.
Yourself.
Right. You didn't have to try and fit in and try. You just be yourself, and everybody just wanted you to be yourself, you know. And so I left the church. I burnt the Bible because I went on a quest of atheism.
You literally burned the book?
Yeah, literally. It's not metaphor. It's not a quote from Revelation. You know? I did not burn it. It's that the two witnesses.
With fire.
Yeah, with fire.
She's like,
You can't
Can you imagine? After God selling this fetus, you're gonna burn the Bible. So there was a reason behind it. I was getting ready to go wild, and I wanted to see if God exists for myself.
Yeah.
And then the pastor had preached about 2 weeks before that God exalts his word above his own name. I said, okay, one way to get God's attention is through his word. So I gathered all the Bible and I poured gasoline on them. I said, God, if you real just out this fire and I'm good, I will know that you exist. I lit it and it burned to a crisp.
wow.
No God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So were you actually an atheist?
Yeah. Like I would seek to bring people out of the church, like my young friends, like just leave that dreaded place, you know, that,
Wow.
you know, like literally taking on the identity of atheism and their principles.
Would you say that happened because of the unkindness of the
Oh, yes.
culture?
Oh, yes. Because what the unkindness revealed that indeed whosoever this God is an unkind God. Because my issue was always his unkind nature to our reality. We go to bed hungry, we wake up hungry, we're bullied, we're taken advantage of, and then you come and tell me that there is a God who boasts about owning the cattle on 1,000 hills. Oh my God. It's the worst thing you could have done. And you could imagine not being a scholar, not being I'm just a child trying to process this already difficult reality. You know, and so to cut it short, God has a way of bringing us back to himself. You know, God is not afraid of us going wild.
Yeah.
He's not offended by our tough questions to him.
Wow.
We sometimes as a church get offended. And we make it look like God is offended. God is not offended when we call him a liar. God is not offended when we question his presence in our life. He is not offended because those will serve as opportunities for God to reveal God's self
Wow.
to us. But, so it was no time for God to call me back to himself, and a gun was placed in my head. There was a fight in the club where I was a DJ, and
How old were you?
this was on the eve of my 16th birthday. And mommy told me something the week before, you know. Mommy said, Jermy, be careful. Sin thrills until it kills. A lesson I would never forget. That's the thing with sin, it thrills until it kills. And so I was at the club. My friends, they beat up a young man. I heard about it after the young man went home, brought his friends and his brother to the club, and my friends left. And now these guys came and, you know, they're like signaling me the gun finger, like you're gonna die, you know, sending me messages like you're gonna die. So I'm from the south side. I know what that means. It's time to leave. And so I pack up everything. I put my laptop and my disc in my knapsack, and I was not afraid because adjacent from the club was a police station. Now I did not like police, but tonight I will make an exception. You know, tonight I will love all police officers. And when I left the club for the first time, the police station was closed. You see, when the enemy plans to destroy, he will cover all human agencies. The only covering you will have is God. But I don't have God because I'm an atheist. For years I haven't prayed. For years I haven't picked up his Bible. For years, you know, because God does not exist. So I decided to run. Now I'm terrified. I'm about 5 miles from home. And in my fright, I ran into a dead end. And his 3 vehicles came in behind me and closed me off. And they came out of the vehicle. The big brother asked his little brother, is he the one that did this to you? His little brother said, yes. I said, no, sir, I was not the one. But they were out for blood. And so he came to me and he said, I will teach you a lesson. He took a gun from his waist. He put it to my head and he pulled the trigger and the gun stick. The gun clicked.
Oh.
So I thought he was trying to just scare me. So I was like, okay, lesson learned. But when I looked at him, he had this perplexed look. on his face, staring at the gun. He aimed the gun in the air, pulled the trigger, and it fired. Put it back to my head. I felt the heat. He pulled the trigger, and the gun
my God.
stick again. The gun snapped again. It wasn't my prayer life.
It wasn't.
Wow.
But I want to share the faithfulness of God. It is this. God's faithfulness is not predicated on our obedience. It is contingent on who God is. Mighty God. I feel like preach what I did. So, our baseball fan and 3 strikes you're out. He will not put that to my head a third time. And so I took off my knapsack and I threw it to the ground like the scripture said. I lay aside every weight and I made one final run for it. And now I'm running and I'm praying.
You started praying. The atheist started.
Nothing like a good fight to shock sense back into us, right? You're playing the fool, all of a sudden now you're praying. And I was not praying in my mind. I was praying loud. Wish somebody would come out of their home and help me. And in my prayer I said, God, if I reach home, I will return to you. I won't know that you exist. I reached home, and what changed my life was when I pushed the back door that I didn't left open because I snuck out to go to the club. When I pushed the back door, Mommy was on her knees praying. She did not know I reached. And she was praying for my safety. It's like a parent, it's like a mother. You just feel something, Rastaman called it vibes. Something is not right, and she was praying for my safety. So it was prayer that brought me home. And if there's something I could say, listen, man, parents, pray for your child. It doesn't matter how wayward they are, pray for your child. It doesn't matter what you're going through, pray God still delivers. If God could bring me home, there is nothing. And when I got baptized, somebody shouted at the back, I give him 2 weeks.
Did you get baptized in Belize, the same church?
The same church.
Were they
same
still unkind people?
I didn't know because my focus was different. I now have an encounter and an experience, and I have a mission. So I was baptized the Saturday evening. The Sunday I was on North End preaching at a crusade. And I never stopped preaching since.
Wow.
Because I know had a message, I had an encounter, I know God, and I need to tell everybody that God is real.
Wow.
And God exists. And I never, now remember I stopped school, I did only 3 weeks in high school. Time is going, we need to finish. I did only 3 weeks in high school. But watch God. 3 weeks in high school I did. God began communicating again with me, because now I've been preaching all over Belize, everywhere, all over the world. I've been invited to preach, and I just wanted to preach. I'd never had any desire to be pastor. When I was a child, maybe, but when I got older and I realized, this is not going to work. When I called, God began to use people, Gilbert Smith and the folk who I'm with right now in California. They came as 2 strangers to Belize, and they heard me preach. He came up to me and he said, What seminary did you go to? The first time I heard seminary. Honestly, I'm like, what's that? Something like cemetery. Like, what is that? He's like, what school do you go to? I said, I didn't go to school. He said, really? I said, yeah. He said, well, when you're ready, call me. I could at least pay for your trip.
Wow.
And he kept his word.
Wow.
Through everything. And it was.
So when did you call him? How old were you?
So what happened now? This is 15 years after I dropped out of school. So I came back to the Lord like 4 years after.
Like 20?
Yeah. No.
16, yeah.
Oh, at 16, yeah.
And I've been preaching all that. So the 4 years that I was out, plus that season, plus that next 11 years I was preaching.
Wow.
15 years that I haven't been in a classroom.
Wow.
And so everybody's talking to me about going back to school. I know that was not a reality. I dropped out of school. I'm too old now. I'm bearded. I'm not going to go into first form with no kids. No, God, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be John the Baptist and preach the kingdom of God is at hand, and I'm all right. you know, and I had a trader. I was an electrician, so it wasn't like I was without purpose. I was making a living and living comfortably, I might add. And so I called when I really felt God saying, Jermy, it is now. I called Jamaica and I told him, hey, God told me to be a pastor, and I was told to call you guys. They said, very good, but we need a high school diploma. I did not know that you needed high school diploma to be a pastor. I thought you just had to tell the school that God called you, and they would say, come on, you will be a pastor. I did not know you needed to learn the basic math and science and all of them, which are important because you need to speak to people who are au fait with what the sciences are and so forth. So that was a shattered dream, right? I stopped because I have no high school diploma. 1 week later, I was in an office signing a contract with a company to be their electrician. And this guy is an atheist. And I kid you not, my phone rang. It was from the conference. They said, Jeremy, we're opening our seminary and we want you to be a part of it. Go to the school. The dean is waiting to interview you.
Where is that, here in the US?
No, that was in Belize.
Okay.
Yeah, the first school, the first time they will ever open a seminary. It still exists today. And so I was, the guy who I was signing the contract with asked me, what is that about? And then I told him, and he said, look, I don't want any problem with God. Leave. No, this is an atheist.
That's crazy.
And so he gave me the bus transportation money. So I, like Abraham, I had no money and I was just looking for a city which had foundation. I did not know where the school was. I was just looking for the city. I got there. A friend of mine came. I stayed with him. I finished there, contacted back Jamaica. They accepted my transcript, but they said, we cannot give you your acceptance letter until we get your high school diploma. My God. I have no high school diploma. But because the seminary is at a higher level, it's at the associate degree level. So I finished my associate degree before I finished high school. Because after my associate program, I graduated with honors. And this is after being 15 years out of school. I had a lot of tutors. Don't get into the thing. It wasn't no angel who sat beside me, and so I had to work, you know. And so what happened, I went to the same high school that I used to attend. I was doing the week of prayers every year and so forth. And so it pays to serve the Lord. And so I went there and the principal said, okay, Jeremy, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you an exam. If you pass it, I give you your high school diploma. I said, give me the exam right now. He said, no, I will give you an outline. You study. And then we will call you back. I said, no, sir, you could die on your way home today. And the next principal will not be so gracious. Give me the exam now. There was a method to my madness, you know. If I put them on the spot, the exam won't be that difficult. And so I finished high school in 45 minutes.
Wow.
And so I sent that off. They accepted. Then they said, Jeremy, there is a date issue here. It says that you finished your associate before high school. And I said, look, you guys wanted high school diploma. You got a high school diploma. Send my acceptance letter. And that was, but let me finish here. I came from, when I was discarded in the trash at birth, to now at one of the world's leading prestigious university.
Tell us where you are now.
Yeah,
I'm at Princeton University,
Wow.
the theological seminary. There doing my master's in divinity, looking at psychology and how to heal. I had a lot of trauma. Now I finished. This is the reason why I was invited here. I had traumas like no other. You could imagine being bullied and just from one coping mechanism to another. And I had to face my traumas. I had to deal with my father. When you guys invite me back, then we could have that conversation. But suffice it to say that I couldn't advance until I dealt with my traumas.
So you're saying that even though you made it to this height, you made it, you overcame the odds.
Yeah.
Being in the trash, being bullied, atheism, gun at your head.
Yeah.
Wow. Just saying all of it is a lot.
Yeah.
Going to school, then doing amazing ministry in Jamaica, and even being at Princeton, that's it.
Yeah.
While you were there, you had a lot of stuff that you had to work through.
Yeah. I had to work through. So to reach the next level, you have to work through things, because you could get to the destination and don't appreciate it because you are carrying the baggage with you. So that's why there were some people who couldn't go into the promised land. It's not because God hated them. There are issues we have to deal with before getting over there. And I would go as far as to say this: had I not dealt with these issues, I wouldn't finish Princeton.
Wow.
My completion at Princeton, even though I'm still there in my final year, was dependent on me addressing childhood traumas. Stuff that I thought I had passed, coming right back. It was in a class that I had a emotional breakdown, and I'm bawling. Now, if anybody knows Jermy, he's a lion. I don't cry. I am a lion. I have seen it all. And in class, I'm crying uncontrollably. I cannot stop crying. And then heaven turned on its spotlight, and I began to see who I really was. Preaching but broken. Preaching but had hate. You have to address this. And so I'm saying to somebody there, I don't know, I was in a season of a cycle of disappointments and failures. Maybe that's where you are. It's not that God has abandoned you. It is God calling you to a meeting. Address this issue. Depression is not just an abstract thing. Depression is linked to a situation, to something, and God is calling you to that meeting. It is very uncomfortable. It is painful. I wish there was another way. But God, it was saying to me at that time, you need to address it, and you need to heal from it in order to be an effective individual. And look what happened then. It was out of that a new ministry was birthed in my life. A ministry of healing that I now realize that the community need, that the world need, that the church need, that we're a broken community. We are broken. We try our best. We put on our best outfits. We try, but inside and in our private moments, there is a storm raging, and there are issues that we need to address. And I end with this by biblical illustration. When God wanted to see when Moses wanted to see God's glory, and God tried to talk him out of it, and finally God said, "All right, Moses, in order to see my glory, there is a rock beside me. I'm going to put you in the cleft of it, and I will pass by. I will remove my hand, and you'll be able to see my back. You'll be able to see my glory." Moses was placed in a rock, in a very hard place. I don't know about the rocks here in California, but the rocks that I'm exposed to, they're not cushioned rocks. They're hard and dusty and rough and have some sharp edges. I don't know how long Moses had to stand there, but it wasn't a comfortable stand. But immediately out of that uncomfortable standing, he saw the glory of God. What am I saying? What you are going through, the discomforts and all of that, on the backside of all of your hardship is the glory of God, which is wrapped up in your purpose. What is your purpose? Your purpose is to reach that place. Listen to me, and I'm finished, I promise you now. It's to reach that place where you have encountered God. When all else have failed, and it was only in God that you trusted, and God brought you through. And out of that birth your purpose, what it is that you are called to do now. You know, I usually say to people, just do what you know is right. Do it daily. And that is how you fulfill your purpose. Without you even knowing it, you'll be walking into your purpose. But pivotal to the purpose is to go back to our designer and maker, who is God.
Wow.
Wish we had more time to get. It's one of the topics that we really love to talk about. Is maybe off camera, but we mental illness and struggle.
He has a lot to say about that.
And so we'll do another one.
We need to come back. So because it was important to lay this foundation, so that folk understand I'm not speaking out of a vacuum. I'm speaking from a place of
been there.
I'm speaking from a place of experience.
We're all broken. This is one key thing that we have to understand. We're all broken.
Yes.
And that helps us see that the other where the other person is at.
Your experience is not just, it's not unique. There's nothing new under the sun.
So the hate that we have towards somebody else, it comes out of brokenness. Because that person is broken. So people are more broken than we are. So instead of being offended from people, it's better to pray for them or relate to them or feel for them or help them get better.
Yes, because the key is to understand each other's pathology. If we understand each other's pathology, we will have a better world. I have lost count of the times when I was growing up when I tried killing myself. But through it all, God was there. God ran up one time when I was going to hang myself.
Can you share that?
Thank you. 10 years old. I tied the rope on the beam of the same sexy house. Put the next part around my neck and I'm walking off. It is too difficult to survive, to stay alive. It's painful. Sometimes it just feels like death is the best way out. And while I'm getting ready to leap, somebody ran up the stairs and grabbed hold of my ankle, my foot, and said, "Don't do it. Don't do it. I will take you places." The voice was strange. When I looked to see who it was, there was nobody. But the hand was still holding on to my ankle. And there was a plane going. The person said, "As you see that plane, I will take you places." And I am a living testimony today that I have traveled places. My God. I'm done.
No, thank you. Very encouraging. And please, whenever you're down,
There's more. There's a lot more.
Yeah.